Yo, what is up? What is going on, everybody? It's your boy, the Foodie Filmmaker, back at you with yet another episode. All right, guys, I am sweating a little bit. I got to the studio late, as usual, but today was actually a little bit overboard. I was like 20 minutes late to the studio. I was out there doing a collab, and then I had some client work, and then I came here and I miscalculated the timing, and yeah, so I got here a little bit late, but that doesn't mean we're not doing the episode. We're still doing the episode. Oh yeah, because you guys have been watching the episodes. Please, a quick shout out to everybody who's been watching the episodes, because I really do appreciate it. Like I said, it's not like I'm putting this podcast out there like hardcore. I usually just make like one story post every time I post a new episode, and pretty much whoever sees it, and whoever doesn't, well, they just don't get to see it. But I appreciate each and every one of you who has actually clicked and gone and watched at least one of the episodes here at the podcast, because it's cool. Like I said, at the same time, it's not like I'm doing this because I'm expecting like a lot of people to watch it. I have fun just coming here into the studio and just sitting down and talking to you guys and sharing some of the experiences that I've had here in the food industry. I also like to talk about other stuff, not just things that I've been through, but just stuff in general that's going on. And so it's always fun. It's always entertaining to be able to share those, share like my opinions or just share my experiences and stuff like that. And so to me, this is fun. I enjoy just watching these back every time I get to the editing phase and I get to watch these episodes. It's always a cool experience. But everybody who watches it and actually enjoys it and then tells me about things that they heard throughout the episode, it really makes me very happy. So to all of you guys who have seen at least one episode, I really want to thank you guys. And yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and keep going at it. So today we got the Cuatro Juanes hat given to me by Juan, owner of Glorious Express and Glorious Restaurant in Huntington Park. He's also owner of this tequila brand. So if you guys get a chance to check it out, definitely drink some Cuatro Juanes. You can actually find it every single Tuesday at 1111 The Experience Ultimate Taco Tuesday. They pretty much go by the same name, same event, every single Tuesday in downtown, right across from the Rego Theater in downtown. So if you guys have a chance to stop by, there's also lots of great food vendors there. If you guys want to grab some grub, get a hamburger, get a cheeseburger, get yourself a smash burger, get yourself some tacos, get yourself whatever you want. There's a good variety of food there. And there's also the bar, where you guys can get yourself some cocktails or get yourself some tequila shots. So definitely a great thing. You could also get it at Glorious, the restaurant in Huntington Park, right on Pacific. So if you guys want to go and take your family, especially since this weekend is going to be Mother's Day weekend, you guys want to take someone, you guys want to take your mother there, you guys want to take the entire family, you guys can go ahead and go to Glorious Restaurant on Pacific in Huntington Park and have yourselves a good time, good food, and have yourselves some tequila Cuatro Juanes. I promise you won't regret it. It's a very, very smooth tequila. So yeah. Anyway, guys, so today I want to get into a topic that's a little bit more, I guess I would say, it's a little bit more personal. It's really just me sharing my thoughts of what I think it really means to be a foodie, because you see a lot of things. And so yesterday I was actually talking to another foodie who I took with me on a collab, and we were kind of just talking about like our experiences and like so many things that happen in the food industry. And there's just a lot of like things that maybe shouldn't be happening, like just a lot of drama and stuff. And so yeah, it's just things that I will probably share with you in future episodes, but because they definitely, like, each one of those topics definitely requires an episode in of itself, just to itself, just because the topic itself is so like intense and stuff. But it's not just me. Like this other foodie has also gone through her own stuff, and then like we have other foodies who have gone through like similar or maybe unique experiences that really shouldn't be happening, at least in my opinion, because, I'm going to be sharing right now what I really think it means to be a foodie and what, the foodie community should consist of. But instead, there's like all these other things happening. But anyway, so what does it really mean to be a foodie, like at least from my perspective? So for me, I think I've shared this before on the podcast, but for me, being able to taste, being able to experience food and be able to eat at different places, and me being able to try foods from different parts of the world, I think that's in of itself a privilege, really, to really be a foodie. And I think really being a foodie is being able to maximize that. And with that really comes a risk. So for me, at the end of the day, being a foodie is all about taking risks when it comes to trying food. Because here's the thing, like I've seen a lot of foodies where, yes, they like to stick to one niche, or they like to stick to just one particular set of food. So maybe like they choose to only review like Mexican food, or maybe they only want to review Mediterranean food, or maybe they just want to do Asian food, Chinese food, Korean food. There's just so many variations of food. And yes, you could in theory like just pick one of those and just go and explore the world and just try that specific type of food, because for every single type of food, there's like so many restaurants out there making that same particular type of food, and everybody puts their own twist and style to it, and everybody's really just trying to do the best that they can. And for everybody, they think they are the best. They think that really their way is the way. But at the end of the day, it's really it's really a personal preference, really, at the end of the day, depending on the customer. And so some customers are going to prefer one place over the other just because, this one has what they're looking for and that one doesn't, and vice versa. There might be some people that like this other place and they don't like this place and stuff like that. But at the same time, it might just be the same exact type of food. It's just there's a few changes made, modifications in the seasoning, modifications in the ingredients, modifications in the steps that it takes to make that particular dish. Like maybe you cook this first instead of cooking that other thing first. Maybe you change the process up some way, somehow, or you change up the seasoning, you change up the brand that you use for the seasoning, or, maybe you combine different seasonings together in order to create a very unique one. And so there's just so many variations. But to me, really, what it really means to be a foodie is really to be able to break out of that and just not only do one particular set of food, but really being able to explore like all the types of food all around the world. So not just sticking to just Mexican food, or just Asian food, or just Mediterranean food, or those kind of foods, or just one particular set of food, but really exploring everything that's out there and really having the courage to really try new things. And even when you go to a particular restaurant, and I get this too, like it's not like I'm it's not like I'm the exception, but for the most part, most foodies, you'll see them that they go to a particular restaurant, and then there's that particular item that they really, really like. And because they really, really like it, they don't really want to take that risk, of like switching from it, or like exploring the menu and trying something else from the menu, right? Because you went to the place, you tried something and you really liked it, and you have this beautiful image of the restaurant because it serves that particular item that really makes you feel good, you feel happy, you feel satisfied, you feel like your cravings were satisfied, right? You feel like, yes, this is exactly what I needed, right? And so you're very happy that they have that item, and you kind of don't want to break out of that because you're like, I don't want to be disappointed, or I don't want to try something else from the menu that might look good, but at the end, it might just not be good. I'm going to be wasting my money if I go in and I try something and it doesn't taste good. I'm going to be mad and stuff like that, right? So, and this is why I say that it's a risk, because it is risky to try other things from the menu, especially if there's because usually restaurants for the most part, try to specialize in a particular item in their restaurant. So, if you ask any owner, you ask them like, okay, like what's the best thing you got? They'll usually tell you like, okay, like maybe like this is our particular thing, right? So maybe if it's like a burger joint, it's usually like it's either like all their burgers, so there's like a specific burger, like the house burger or something like that. That's like the main thing, right? So this is like the best item we've got, and so already there, the owner's already minimizing the risk for you to perhaps choose something from the menu that you probably won't like. So if you're a burger joint and your best item is a burger, you make it very easy for the customer to not take a risk at that point, because they're like, okay, it makes sense. If it's a restaurant that's like, it's got like the restaurant vibes. I mean, it's got the hamburger vibes, and the best thing that they got is a burger. Well, then it kind of makes sense. Like if it's a burger spot, you would assume that the best thing is their burgers. So what would happen if you if you go to a burger joint and now all of a sudden you want to order like a grilled cheese or something, or like a turkey sub, like it's like one of the items there, but like, that's a risk. But who knows, maybe their turkey sub is actually really, really good. It might even be a banger, but you'll never know if you never step out of it. And like I said, it's not like I don't do that either. Usually if I go to a restaurant, I usually try to pick out. I usually try to find out what's the best item, and I usually try to stick to that particular item. But sometimes, there are restaurants where, I usually like to take a risk and be like, what, I really like the way that this is really well put together. And then you can kind of tell, like, from the way that the owner runs the restaurant, if everything looks like it's in place and everything looks like it's functioning right, like the service is good, the presentation of your food is good, and everything looks good so far, like the word of mouth is good. For the most part, you'll want to take that risk and be like, okay, you know what? Let me explore the menu. Let me try the other things that they have, because for the most part, if everything is running smoothly in that restaurant, it is a good indicator that most likely everything else on the menu is going to be good as well, as opposed to, if you see that the restaurant is kind of like, flimsy, it doesn't look like everyone's organized. And then you kind of just look around and you look at people's tables and you see what they've ordered. And if you kind of see that everybody's kind of ordered the same particular item, like I said, with the burger, maybe everybody's ordered that particular burger, then it's probably a good indicator that that burger is probably the best thing that there is, and everything else on the menu is probably not hitting. But but you know what? But at the end of the day, every restaurant has to put at least more than one item for the most part. Actually, if just to kind of test the demographic, test the audience and see if there's particular items that people would want to try, or like people actually find that it's actually really good, and they want to have it. I haven't had no caffeine the whole day, actually. Actually, no, I did. I had a coffee in the morning, but I don't think that coffee was strong enough, to be honest. It was a latte, iced latte, actually. But it usually takes more than one cup of coffee in order for me to feel anything, and I haven't had it. Plus, I just came from a collab here in Pasadena. I went to Starleaf. If you guys have been to Starleaf, let me know in the comments below. But it's an Asian cuisine, and the food there is really, really good. But I had a little bit too much precisely because it was really good. But yeah. So but anyway. So yeah, and see, there you go. I explored an Asian cuisine. For the most part, most people have actually encouraged me and told me like, hey, like, why don't you explore like more Mexican food, or like, try to stick to the Hispanic food, like go and explore like tacos and like tortas and burritos and all that Mexican stuff, right? And nothing wrong with that. I love Mexican food, and I would say it's probably my favorite at the end of the day, and it is my comfort food. So like any Mexican dish, really, like I'll take it and I'll probably eat it without hesitation. I won't have any like I won't be like worried or concerned if it's gonna be good or not, because I already I've probably already eaten that particular dish already in the past, so I kind of know what to expect. It may have some variation here and there, like I said, because everybody makes everything differently. But at the end of the day, if it's gonna be a taco de asada, it's gonna be a taco de asada. Like there's not that much of a difference between one taco de asada with the next. Besides, the flavors of the meat. There could be a different tortilla. It could be a handmade one versus a store-bought tortilla, and it makes a difference, of course. But at the end of the day, a taco is a damn taco, and it's gonna taste like a taco. And like I said, everyone has a personal preference at the end of the day, but at the end of the day, taco is a taco, right? And so like, yes, I could just stick to my comfort food and just stay there and be happy, and I could say that I'm a foodie because of that. But like I said, I think really being a foodie is, at the end of the day, being able to take those risks and being able to just explore different cuisines and being able to try different things from all over the world and try like different dishes, like and that's particularly something that I find really fun to do, and sometimes I can't do this by myself either. I've actually teamed up with other foodies, some of them who watch the podcast. That I've gone out with you guys, and you guys have actually helped me try new food that I would have never tried, I think, on my own, because I would have just never like really have the incentive to go and try them, or some places I don't even know they exist. There are these hidden gems. But that's what's fun about actually teaming up with other people in the foodie community, because you get to explore other cuisines too, and you get to explore the restaurants, other types of food that perhaps you're not really comfortable eating, or you just don't have the knowledge, the awareness that these dishes even exist. And or perhaps you might have tried a particular dish from a place that wasn't really good. That's another thing too, because here's the thing, like a lot of people try to like stay away from certain foods just because their initial experience with that particular food was not good. And this is very likely too. You might have gone to a place, like I know people who don't like tacos, and and all of a sudden they tried a taco from like the street or something, and they were like, wow, this is crazy. But if you go to the wrong restaurant and they're not really putting in the love and the care to make a good taco, the tacos from the restaurant might not be that good. And if that was your first experience, you might just assume that all tacos taste the same with maybe a slight variation. But if that one was really bad, then you might think that, if that's how they all taste, I mean, I don't see how these can even be improved, like even with the slight variation, I don't think these could taste any better. But if you actually start hanging out, or you meet someone who also, likes to try food, and then they recommend a place, they're like, hey, you you need to try the tacos from this place, or you need to try them in a particular way, or, they acknowledge you, right? They teach you, they show you exactly what you should be looking for in a taco. They're like, okay, like, look, if you want to have the best experience as far as tacos goes, you want to make sure that the asada, you want to make sure that they're cooking it like right there on the spot. You want to make sure that you can smell it, and that they're cooking the meat on the spot right there. They're giving it to you fresh. You want to see that the tortillas are being handmade as well, that they're being made on the spot, and that they're not like store bought, or they're not like from a day ago. Same thing for the meat. You don't want the meat to be like from 1 day, 2 days ago. Same thing for like the veggies. You want them freshly cut that same day. You don't want no old stuff. You want everything fresh as well. As far as like maybe like you can put things like salsa on top, guac and stuff like that. Like that someone can teach you, what to look for, and now you have a better idea of, okay, like, if I want to have a good experience, now you have the knowledge. So now you can even, you can minimize the risk too. Like I said, at the end of the day, sometimes you don't even have to take that risk. You can just you can just learn and see what you should be looking for in order to have a good experience. But what I like to do is just take a risk. Like if I'm with a friend and they're telling me that maybe we're doing like dim sum or something, and they tell me like this dim sum is actually really good, then I'm gonna trust them. If I roll with them, if I know that their judgment of food is actually pretty good, then I'll go ahead and go for it, and I'll give it a try. And for the most part, I have not been disappointed. Most of the people that I've hanged out with, they take me to the restaurants that they like, and I check them out, and for the most part I like them. I like the food. I like what they showed me, and I thought it was great. And I have nothing really bad to say. I mean, there have been some exceptions, of course, but for the most part, it's all been like bangers, and I'm happy that I was even introduced to those kind of foods, because now like I'm like, wow, such a dish, such food exists. Sometimes you don't even know like how ingredients can be like manipulated and used in different ways, where you're like, wow, like I would have never thought to do something like that with the bun. I would have never thought of doing something like that with like meat or like sausage, or like I would have never thought of putting that in a pizza or something. There's just like so many possibilities out there that with food. That, in my opinion, it's just very interesting what people can do, and like you just never know. But like I said, you can. I would. You could, in essence, try to go at it by yourself and try to explore everything on your own, and just try to taste everything on your own, and try to discover new places and new ways of eating and new ways of experiencing food all by yourself. But I think that's really where the foodie community comes in, because everybody has their own like background. Everybody has had like different access to different restaurants, because you can only go to so many restaurants. There's just so many of them out in the world that you just cannot really like go out to every single one of them and try every single one of them. So it usually helps when you talk to another fellow foodie. And every fellow foodie usually has like their favorite like particular type of food. So usually I usually try to find like whoever like if I want to eat like maybe like I want to eat Chinese food, so I try to well, what I would do is that I would try to find a fellow foodie that loves Chinese food, and that's their favorite type of their favorite type of food. I would ask them, I will consider them as the authority in that particular type of food, and just ask them, like, look, man, I'm craving this type of food. What places would you recommend me? I'm in this area too, because it also varies by area, and usually every area too. Like even if you're like in LA or something like I am, every particular part of LA usually has their own like their own good stuff. They all have like their own like their own part of their own type of food that they specialize in. And so I happen to live in downtown, so in downtown we do have kind of like a combination of really everything, so you can pretty much find like a restaurant that specializes really in everything. You can probably find like pretty good food of all sorts of food from all over the world. You can find like really good stuff in downtown. You'll eventually come across it. But everywhere else, you'll kind of have like their specialties. Like if you go to like areas like the 626, you'll probably find like some of the best Asian food out there. If you go like maybe like East LA, you'll find like really good street food. There's just so many street vendors, but they also have really good restaurants out there, and really like Hispanic food really at the end of the day in East LA. So that's a really good area to really explore that kind of food. If you want to have a good variation and a good little bit of everything, then you come to downtown. Downtown Los Angeles has a really good good diversity of like food. If you want to look more towards like Korean food, you can always go to Koreatown. Koreatown has definitely a lot of Korean restaurants, especially if you're looking for things like Korean barbecue or something like that. You'll definitely find lots of Korean barbecue in Koreatown. So that's a really good place to go if that's something you're looking for. You got things like more like high end stuff, more like premium, like sushi and like steakhouses and stuff like that. Like on the west side, that's usually where you'll find things like those. Like West Hollywood, Beverly Hills. The particular areas where you find like more of the premium foods, things like that's where you'll find like really renowned chefs. If that's your thing to try like really really like unique things where like you really want to put your palate to the test, that's really the site to go. On the west side, like I said, Beverly Hills, West Hollywood, Culver City, Marina Del Rey, all those areas are pretty much, they're focused on that particular types of food. And like I said, everything has its own thing. If you want to explore like things like seafood as well, seafood, you can find probably the best seafood is usually the restaurants that are close to the beach. So you can pick any beach that you want, and if you're like in LA, you can pick like things like Manhattan Beach, Santa Monica Beach, Long Beach, Newport Beach. I think that's more like OC actually, but yeah, pretty much like any restaurant that's close to the beach, that's usually where you'll find the best seafood. Why? Because they're able to they're able to get all the seafood that everything that comes in the seafood. You can pretty much you have the ocean right there very close to you. You can like pretty much have a lot of things could be made fresh, as opposed to if you're like more into the inner city, then it takes a little while. It's got to go from the ocean, it's got to be transported back to you and stuff like that. And so yeah, but like every single area kind of has its own specialties. So like sometimes you will need to travel, and that's a risk as well, because like like maybe you're looking for a specific type of food, and now because you want to taste the best of the best, and because you want to taste the best of the best, you might need to travel a little bit. You might need to either drive out there, get an Uber, take the bus, whatever. It's gonna be some sort of expense from your monetary expense and also time expense, and so that's a risk as well, because you got to take time out of your day to go and explore and do your thing right there, right? So there's that. And so, the risk is the risk, because now you're going all the way over there, you're spending all that much, and, all you can do is hope that at the end of the day, the food that you taste is actually going to be pretty good. So there's that risk of like, going to the spot, and then there's the risk of actually trying something, and maybe it doesn't hit, but sometimes it does hit. But at the same time, like I personally, like I said, But if you have like that mindset, if you approach this in a way where you're like, okay, like I'm a foodie, I want to be a good foodie, I want to be a foodie that really explores everything, then you go in with that mindset. And so here's the thing too, like I know like a lot of foodies, they tend to be like pretty picky and stuff, like, and I think that really like people who are picky eaters, I personally don't think they should be foodies, just because it really restricts you. If you're like a really picky person that really like demands for everything to be a particular way, then I really feel like you exclude a lot of things. You exclude people from really preparing things in the way that they will like to, and you're kind of modifying everybody's kind of like you're modifying everybody's really vision, like as far as like the people making the food. So it could be like things like the chef, every single chef, who makes food, and everybody who makes food, they usually have a specific mindset. They have a specific way of doing things. They have a specific idea of how they want their dishes to be made. And so if you're a picky eater, you're most likely going to go in there and start saying like, okay, I don't want this, I want this to be this way, I want this to be that way. And at the end of the day, you won't really give the chef like that kind of like freedom to prepare the dish the way that they want to. And so that's when you have things like you have like people who review stuff like picky eaters who go out and they think they can review like these Michelin star chefs, and then they tell them that their food is bad. But I don't think that their food is necessarily bad, especially if they're a Michelin star chef. I think it's just that you're a very picky eater, and so when it comes to that, you're kind of very stubborn about whatever your picky rules are, and so if they're not followed, or the chef just decided to make things in a way that you just wouldn't like it from nobody, then you're just not gonna like it, and even if at that point, it could be a Michelin star chef that makes it, or it could be some regular chef, and you'll reject both just because they weren't they weren't made to your specifications. So I think that if you're a picky eater, you probably shouldn't be a chef, and you probably should stick to your to your comfort. So whatever you're comfortable with, just pretty much just do that, eat the food that's comfortable with you. There's nothing wrong with that. And then just go on with your life and do something else. Don't become a foodie, because I think really a foodie really becomes really, when it comes to being a foodie, is being able to explore everything and being able to accept everything for what it is at the end of the day. So it's really about like looking at food without any judgment. You're not looking at any particular dish or anything with judgment, like, oh, I hate burgers, or like, I hate sandwiches, I hate pizza or something, right? You're not coming at it from that mindset. You're coming in from a mindset of like, like, I like pizza, I like this, I like, you really like, you should have a really easy, like a very open-minded, I would say. Not that you have to be very accepting of everything, but you have to be very open-minded as far as like everything that exists, and you have to understand why it exists too. Because here's the thing, like sometimes people don't like certain things because they don't understand them either. Like maybe you've never had pizza before, and you look at pizza and it looks weird to you, and you're like, why did anybody even make pizza? Like, and then you kind of you try it and you don't like it because you're like, I don't like the idea of the concept of pizza itself. And so at that point, like it doesn't matter who makes the pizza. At the end of the day, you're not gonna like the pizza. But as a foodie, you're supposed to be able to come in and you're supposed to be able to try any particular food, any sort of food from anywhere in the world, and you should know exactly what that food is. You should know exactly what that dish represents, and you should know like where it came from. You should know like why it exists, and you should know exactly what to expect from it. And aside from that, of course, you're gonna have your own biases. You're gonna have your own preferences. Maybe you like pizza that's more salty, you like pizza that's more cheesy, you like pizza that's more whatever, you like the crust to be a little bit more crunchy, whatever the case may be. Maybe you like the tomato sauce to taste a particular way, right? Well, a particular seasoning. But at the end of the day, you should understand that, okay, the pizza, a good slice of pizza should have the right amount of tomato sauce. It shouldn't be like too overwhelming to the point where you take a bite and all you do is take a bite of a big chunk of a tomato sauce, right? Or it shouldn't be too cheesy where like it overpowers the entire tomato sauce and the bread, and all you taste is just a big blob of cheese in your mouth. Or the crust shouldn't be like too soft to the point where it kind of tastes raw, and it's like bad for you, So that a good piece of pizza should be like at least like decently crispy. It should have a nice layer of cheese and a nice layer of tomato sauce. That tomato sauce should be seasoned properly, as well as the cheese. It should be melted at a certain temperature, so that when you take the bite, you take a good amount of the cheese with you, and it's not like the whole cheese just comes off of the pizza. You don't want that either. So, there's these rules, there's these particular things that, okay, like the pizza needs to be a certain way. Now, obviously, if there's variations to it, that's really up to the chef. And then the chef, you go and you ask him, why is it this way, that way? And usually, they'll give you the reasonings as to why, they decided to modify the pizza in a certain way. But at the end of the day, there is rules to every particular type of food. And I think every foodie should know what those rules are. And then you go from there. From there, you're like, okay, I personally wouldn't have this again. But at the same time, I know this is good. Like, I would classify this as a 10 out of 10. Like, this is a perfect piece of pizza. It's good. It's made well. Everything is good. I personally just wouldn't eat it just because, like, whatever. I personally, I would say, like, there's like, even taking the example of pizza, like, I personally for personal preference, I don't like pizza with tomato sauce. And that's just because I don't really like tomato. I'm not a big fan of tomato, and I've tasted variations of pizza with tomato, and there are a few that I've actually liked, just because the amount of tomato sauce is very minimal, and the seasoning, the way that the tomato sauce was seasoned is really good. And then there's toppings on top of that pizza that really complement that tomato sauce, so it gives it an extra purpose to being there, besides just being a simple pizza with like cheese and pepperoni on top or something like that, right? So it gives it like that premium, it gives it an extra reasoning. But if it's gonna be like a simple pizza where all you're gonna put is just pepperoni, or you're gonna put like the basic stuff, like ranch, or you're gonna do like you're gonna put things like sausage or bacon or stuff like that, I would rather just not do it. I would rather use a different sauce, whether it's like white sauce or it's like pesto or something else that's not tomato sauce. That's the pizza that I would prefer personally, just because I'm not a big fan of tomato sauce unless it's done the way that I'm telling you. But like I said, this is already like my own personal preference. This is already me getting a little picky there and modifying the pizza according to my likes. And I know that not everybody's going to be a fan of what I just said. Some people like pizza because they just like it the way it is. They actually love the tomato sauce, they love tomato, and so for them that's going to be the perfect pizza. And that's exactly what I'm talking about here. Like, I'm putting myself in the place of somebody who loves pizza, somebody who just plain out likes pizza like the original way, the way that it's meant to be. And so if I was that person, what would I think of this pizza? And so from a standpoint of somebody who likes pizza at its basic level, following all the fundamentals, this is the right pizza. This is the pizza that they will like. This is a very perfectly made pizza. I would give it a 10 out of 10. I don't find any particular problem with it. It's not that the sauce is bad. It's not that it's too saucy. It's not that it's too cheesy. It's not that it's here and there. It's not that it's burned. It's not that it's raw. It's just perfectly made. Everything is good. Everything is they follow the rules to perfection. The seasoning is good. It's got its own flavor. It's good. It's a good piece of pizza. Now, like I said, would I take it? Probably not, just because I have a preference for something else. But that's just it. Like, I think that as a foodie, you should be able to take any type of food, whether that's pizza, burger, French fries, a bagel, dim sum, kebab, whatever it is. You should be able to understand like what that type of food is and what to expect from it, what are the rules, and then being able to judge it from there. And so at the end of the day, obviously you're going to develop your own preferences, but I think as a master foodie, you should be able to, see things like that, decipher them, and being able to give props wherever you can, right? Because at the end of the day, you're the one judging the food. even though, like I said, when you're trying food, you're trying not to judge it but that's really before you try it. So before you try it, never judge it. Judge it after you've already had it, after you've had it, and you also understand it. So you understand like its history, you understand why it exists, and then you can get in there and be like, okay, I would have done this a particular way, or maybe not. Maybe you actually like it the way it is. And you're like, you know what? This is actually pretty good. I like this. This is solid. This is good. I would eat this again. And that's basically the end of the conversation there. But that's really, at the end of the day, that's to me what it means to be a foodie, is to be able to approach any type of food, be having the courage to be able to try any food, and then being able to assess it and really give it its proper score, give it its proper well, what you call it? It's proper rating. You're able to give it its proper rating at the end of the day, and it's a rating that's fair. It's not a rating that comes from a place of like pickiness or from a place of just personal preference, but it's a rating that comes from, in general, like what would the general audience like? Because that's really, at the end of the day. Look, at the end of the day, not when you're rating something, you're rating it and you're trying to give your rating to a wide audience, right? So like when you're judging, obviously it's not like you're judging it to yourself. If you're going to be putting it out there, you're going to be uploading it to social media, there's going to be a wide range of people who are going to be watching this. So they need to understand that the difference between your personal preference and what's actually going on. Like, so that's why I'm saying, like, you should rate it as far as like, in general, would the audience like it? Would, like, if people were looking into hot dogs, because that's the thing at the end of the day, if I'm looking into a review, it's because, I'm probably, if there's a restaurant, maybe like I'm looking into the restaurant, maybe I'm craving a hot dog, and I'm looking at this restaurant that serves hot dogs, and I'm like, I want to know if the hot dogs are actually good there or not. Let me go watch this guy's review. I want to know if the hot dogs are actually good, so from the perspective of somebody who's already looking for a hot dog, who's a hot dog lover, who enjoys hot dogs for what they are, what would they, would you think that they will like this or not? And so that's, at the end of the day, that's the way that I see it. And sometimes the answer is actually no. Sometimes I'm like, okay, you know what? If you're looking for a hot dog and then you go and you try this hot dog, I can assure you're not going to like it. This is not a good hot dog. Maybe like because the bread is very soggy, or the sausage just tastes like it's old. It has no seasoning. It's bland. It's just, or maybe it's chewy. It's just not a good sausage. And maybe the toppings that go on top, they just don't go well together. And so I'm like, hey, you know what? From perspective of somebody that loves hot dogs, you're not gonna like this one because it's not made the way it's supposed to be made, and so that's the thing. At the end of the day, that's how you should assess your rating. And then if you want, you can add on top of it, after you said that, you can add your own personal preference and be like, you know what, personally, I like my hot dogs to be bacon wrapped, so I probably wouldn't come here as often because I don't like these fancy hot dogs. Maybe I like a street dog, I like the way that I like it when they're like really nicely cooked and they're bacon wrapped. And then maybe the veggies are grilled as opposed to having the veggies being fresh, and that's just my personal preference. At the end of the day, but would I recommend this place? Absolutely. Or maybe you say, you know what, I wouldn't recommend this at all. Like it's just not a good spot to get your hot dogs. I'd recommend this other spot instead, and so on and so forth. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Not sure if you learned anything from it. Not sure if you learned anything from it, or you took anything from it. But I'm pretty sure maybe this gave you some perspective as far as like what it's like to be a foodie, what it means to be a foodie, and should you consider yourself a foodie, and is this something that you want to continue doing down the line in the future? So so that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm want to keep it short, even though we did kind of go a little bit overboard. But anyway, guys, thank you so much again. Thank you to everybody who's been watching the episodes. Shout out to you guys. Make sure you leave a like down below. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure if you want to help out, share this episode. Send the link to some of your fellow foodies or your friends or whoever you think might enjoy these podcast episodes. I really look forward to having a guest very, very, very soon. Like I said, I'm still working on getting the equipment, but I think I'm just gonna bring someone in already, like really quick. Hopefully by the next episode, I just kind of want to jump in and just start testing things, and then, and then just kind of figure it out as we go, as I usually do. I really like to do things like that. At first I understand that there might be some mistakes, but we kind of learn, live and learn. If there's a mistake, we work on it, we fix it. I could see what's gonna happen, and then eventually, we'll have the perfect like guest podcast as well, where it really looks good when if I'm by myself, and it looks great if I have another guest here, and that's really at the end of the day the experience I want to give you guys. But yeah, make sure you subscribe, like I said. Make sure you follow. Make sure you follow the Instagram at tff.podcast, the podcast Instagram, and also follow me. Follow my personal, follow my foodie Instagram at the Foodie Filmmaker. You already know. And yeah, apart from that, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.